Hey, Americana Station podcast fans. I have some big news. We got a showcase coming up March 19th at the Sutler on 8th Avenue. And your podcast guest today, Boo Ray, will be showcasing on that along with Sissy Dinkle. It's also sponsored by Pickin' and Percolatin' podcast with Stephen Dunn and String Joy. It's exciting. It's going to be awesome. I hope to see you there. Bring your family. And come listen to Boo Ray and Sissy Dinkle showcase some of their songwriting skills for you. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Americana Station podcast. I'm really excited today to have Boo Ray on the podcast. I've been trying to sit down with him and correlate this for quite a while, and we finally worked out our schedules and made it happen, and I'm really excited about it. His new record, Tennessee Alabama Fireworks, has been incredible. If you haven't heard it yet, pause this podcast and go listen and then come back. It'll make you love his podcast even more. It's really a great album. All of his stuff is really great. At the top of the podcast, we talk a little bit about he has a 45 split EP, and he's got a lot of different albums out that you can check out on Spotify. You can also buy them on his website, which is the best way to do it. All right, let's get a few things out of the way first. We will have a showcase with Boo Ray on March 19th. I said that at the top of the podcast. It's a Thursday. It's at the Sutler on 8th Avenue. I'm really excited about this. We haven't done a showcase since, I believe it was 2018's Americana Fest. We did at the Well Coffee House over in Green Hills. So we're trying out, me and Stephen Dunn from the Pickin' and Percolatin' podcast are trying out a new showcase. Hopefully we're going to get it about every 6 weeks to a month. We're going to do some showcase with new songwriters from our podcasts. Right now it's sponsored by String Joy, and we're working on some other sponsors that are going to be coming up. And it will be at the Sutler. It's going to be exciting. I'm really, really glad to have Boo Ray for the first showcase that we're doing. And also Sissy Dinkle will be on, and she's an incredible bass and baritone player as well as guitarist and songwriter. She plays with a lot of people in town, but she also does songwriting on her own, so we're going to be showcasing her as well. If you don't listen to the Pickin' and Percolatin' podcast, or you don't use String Joy's strings, you should do both. And make sure that you also visit AmericanaHighways.org. They are a sponsor of this show, and I'm really thankful for that. You can listen to the Backroads playlist, which is curated by yours truly on Spotify, and it is the Americana Highways Backroads playlist by Will Payne Harrison. Just updated it. It's the Mardi Gras edition. We got some Michael Doucet on there, and Sonny Landreth. We got Ordinary Elephant, Aeronautical Pioneer, who I'm playing with in Lafayette in a few weeks. That's Jesse Rayo of the Rayo Brothers. He did a new project. So there's a lot of really good Lafayette, Southern Louisiana stuff on there. There's a lot of new releases like Kellen of Troy, who's going to be up next in a couple of podcasts. I'm interviewing him tomorrow, actually, and he'll be up in the next month or so on the podcast. Who else do we got on there? Amanda Broadway is on there. Just go follow that playlist on Spotify and take your time and listen to it. It's a great thing. It's updated every month. Thanks to AmericanaHighways.org for sponsoring this podcast and letting me do some playlisting on Spotify. So in the world of Will Payne Harrison, Veronica Stanton and I are going on tour soon. It's 3 weeks away from the start of it. For the Whiskey and Wildflowers tour, you can go to willpayneharrison.com for tour dates. It's stacking up. My spring and summer is really filling up. I think I'm almost at 30 dates now. And about half of those are the Whiskey and Wildflower tour. We'll be heading to Lafayette and New Orleans, down in Louisiana and Alexandria, and then we'll be heading up to Kentucky. We'll be in Louisville. We'll be in Lexington. We'll be in Newport. We'll be in Lafayette, Indiana. We're going to Pennsylvania. We're going to Virginia, Richmond, and Philadelphia. So be sure to check all that out. It's willpayneharrison.com. You can find out all the tour dates on there. You can follow me on Bands in Town. And make sure you check out Veronica Stanton as well. Without further ado, let's get into Boo-Ray. His dramatic southern sound will draw you in. His voice will have you hanging on every lyric, and his songs will stick with you like a good friend does. Boo-Ray is a southern troubadour who has forged and honed his sound in South Georgia honky-tonks, Gulf Coast jukes, Nashville nightclubs, and Los Angeles songwriter joints. Hailing from the mountains of western North Carolina and now spending equal parts time in Nashville, Tennessee, Los Angeles, and California, welcome Boo-Ray to the podcast.
Anyways, I'd be curious to hear what you think about that production. I mean, I've got a buddy who's a producer, and he's a good producer too, and but he's definitely on that tip of, you know, recording and reamping the snare through a fucking, you know, Vox AC30 or some shit with a fucking distortion pedal on it. He's into that shit, and I am too. I love that world. Love that world.
Did you have some of that on the new record?
Yeah, there is a good bit of that kind of stuff on the new record. But that right there, it is not that way. It's very much like some weird fucking Vince Gill recording or something.
That's
great.
Like
a late 70s, early 80s Vince Gill.
Just like one take kind of.
Yeah, super clean production, real plain production.
Is this out yet?
Yeah.
It's out?
Yeah. But anyways, I was so my buddy who's the creative producer, he kind of took a shot at me on the production night, saying it's kind of safe or boring, and I'm like, I hear what he's saying. It's not like psychedelia by any means.
Yeah.
But I'd be curious to hear what you think about the damn, just like, you know, just.
I'm excited about it.
Kick, snare sounds, bass sounds, just the basics.
Yeah, my parents gave me their old record player. I've been collecting. I mean, I had this guy right here, this little tiny one of those wooden box ones, but
10-4.
They gave me the nice one with the big speakers, and
cool.
It's in my room now, so I can't wait to listen to it.
Hey, who had Mother Church Pew? That I love that.
Susan Hubbard.
I love Susan Hubbard.
She's great. Yeah. Have you've released some of your stuff on?
Yes.
Yeah.
They've been super sweet to us.
They're great. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just kind of started it. We'll jump in. I'm talking to Boo-Ray right now here on Americana Station. He just handed me his 45 with Saint Misbehavin' and Soul Food Cookin'. Is this the newest thing that you have out?
No, the Tennessee Alabama Fireworks. That's something that I had my hands, that I could put my hands on as I walked out the door.
Yeah,
I just wanted to bring you something out of this vinyl collection.
That's so kind of you. Thank you.
Yeah,
do you have Tennessee Alabama Fireworks on vinyl too?
It's on 12-inch. Yes,
that's great. Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, I've been listening to that for a while. I think I've told you before. 20 Questions is great. We put that on the some of the streaming platforms that we got, and yeah, it's been really great listening to your music, and I'm glad that we finally worked out. One of my first guests was Yasmin, and
sure,
she's the one that's been telling me for like the last 2 years. She's like, you got to hang out with Boo-Ray.
She's cool, man. She's great. I've been glad to see her interesting, high level success. She's an interesting. She got that big song placement. And she does stuff. She does some interesting stuff at the level of international political and political and movements and peace rally and stuff. You know, she's interesting.
Yeah, one of the most intelligent people I've met,
for sure.
So you, what record is Tennessee Fireworks for you? Is that number 3, number 4, 5?
So Bad News Travels Fast was the original Americana 2010 Americana record that I released out of a halfway house in Athens, Georgia.
Okay.
And I released that, and it got picked up by Americana Radio, and Sirius XM Outlaw Country picked that up. And then 2012, I had moved to Nashville and scrapped together my first Nashville release. And Price Harrison, the guy that does photography, he shot that and does all the art direction on my releases since then. And in 2012, released 6 Weeks in a Motel record. That was Saul Philcox produced. That was sort of my first Nashville record, you know. And then that was 2012, and then 2016, Sea of Lights came out, and 2019, Tennessee Alabama Fireworks. So that's 4 LPs.
Yeah.
And then there's 3 of those singles collaborations, A and B side singles. One with Sean Brock there, and then I did another one with Lily Winwood, and then I did another one with Elizabeth Cook.
That's awesome. Yeah. You've been putting out a lot of work. How do you find time to write when you're on the road so much?
You know, I haven't been on the road as much as I would have liked this past year. But that being said, I write in terms of like just voice memos and just scraps of ideas and little melody lines. And then when I have a chance to sit down and get a guitar in my hand and actually write, I mean, as you know, you kind of either have to have a day off.
Yeah.
You have to either have a day off and can be slung up in a motel room. You know, I collect. Like I would think of myself when I'm traveling and on the road. I collect with like a field bag.
Yeah.
You know, like you would imagine a damn butterfly bird watcher or a butterfly collector or something like that would have a field bag that he threw stuff in. So that's what I'm about, like on the road with my song ideas and stuff. And then I try to, sound checks.
Yeah.
I do a significant little bit of work. I try to sneak in stuff at sound check. But I come back home and do most of the actual heavy lifting of the construction at the house, you know.
Do you tour with the band mostly?
Yeah, just take a 4-piece, what I call a redneck rock and roll band.
Redneck rock and roll, yeah.
Telecaster, 2 Telecasters, bass and drums, and then the full-fledged version of redneck rock and roll band is 2 Telecasters, bass, drums, and steel.
Yeah, which you had some of that on this record. I saw CJ has played some steel on this.
Yeah, CJ's great, man. I like him.
And then this is great. So you said you haven't been touring that much this year. You just been
I think we did coast to coast on the release of that record.
Yeah.
And so we hit a good lick on the front end at the top of the year, and I played throughout the year. Not as many. I want to play 200 days a year, man. 200? Yeah.
Whoa.
I want to play, man.
Yeah.
I want to play. I like to play. I like to crank up the damn machine. To me, this band, this contraption.
Yeah.
And it's basically, look, I don't think it's, I'm not reinventing the wheel by any means. I'm literally using a blueprint that I have identified in some other people and some other artists and some other bands.
Yeah.
I'm using a blueprint, and I mean, damn, I'm copying damn near as verbatim as I can to some of this stuff. Like, I consider myself a chicken picking, twang ridden, steel infused Tom Petty is what I consider myself.
That's awesome. Yeah.
I mean, I and I'm not saying in degree of greatness or anything, but I mean stylistically, approach wise. Like I got about, in a J.J. Cale kind of way, I've got about 4 different rhythms that I mine endlessly. I really don't get too far off that damn path. I'm about 4 or 5 rhythm pattern kind of guy.
Is that what you grew up with? Was like Tom Petty and J.J. Cale?
Yeah. But that and country music of the same era.
Yeah.
So the Merle stuff and the Waylon stuff and the Willie stuff, bunch of Willie. I was probably exposed to as much of the Willie as anything.
Yeah.
Including all his classic stuff. When he started recording a classic American songbook.
You did you grow up in Athens, Georgia, or that's just where you recorded your first record?
I grew up in mountains of western North Carolina.
Okay.
So that clan of Louisiana women that I'm telling you about, they pretty much all lived up there at that point. And I went to grade school in Cullowhee, North Carolina, and that was a great place to grow up. And then when I got a driver's license, I got a learner's permit. I was like, oh my God, there's got to be more than the parking lot at Hardee's and Ingalls. There's got to be more. And so I was like, get me off this damn mountain. And it was a coin toss. I could have gone an hour and 45 minutes east to Asheville, North Carolina, and that's actually down off the mountain from where we were.
Yeah.
And I could have gone an hour and 45 minutes southwest to Athens, Georgia, and I ended up going to Athens, Georgia.
Were you playing music at that time, or did you pick it up? Okay,
yeah,
so
I had an operating power trio that I was running, sort of a Piedmont circuit, fraternity and club bar circuit, brewery and bar circuit, and Asheville, Greenville, Clemson, Athens, Atlanta, and then I had that circuit based out of Cullowhee for 2.5-3 years.
Yeah.
And we played full time, three of us at 19, 20 years old, making $15,000-$20,000 a year. Was it
a band, or were you still going by Boo?
Power trio. I mean, I was a primary writer.
Yeah.
I was a primary writer in the band. That band went through a couple of different incarnations and names. Rhythm and Booze, BOOZE was one of the incarnations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's solid. Did the mountain music ever influence your writing at
For
all?
sure.
Yeah.
Now, at that point in time, when I was 19, I had a wah-wah pedal and a damn roto vibe, and I was trying to be as R&B, and I rebelled from the hillbilly scene at that point. Like, to me at that point, man, I'm just a bunch of damn mean old men and playing Martin guitars with medium heavy gauge strings. I didn't have much damn interest in it. I rebelled from that and ran down to Atlanta and played on rap tracks and stuff like that,
Yeah.
But then I got out in Los Angeles a few years after that, and I got homesick for sweet tea and grits, and I became aware of my southernness.
Yeah.
And that Appalachian stuff came right out of me as a natural emotional response, and I basically that was the birth of the Bad News Travels Fast record, that 2010 record.
Yeah.
Which I've been recording those songs off of that record. I keep recording songs off that record as title tracks and stuff to these other records. I don't know what that means, but I've kind of identified that, there's a certain groups, like, they get an early record and they keep mining it.
Yeah.
And for me, it's a matter of, like, I'm trying to give some of these other songs a fair shake production-wise.
Right, yeah.
And
was it self-produced, the 2010 record?
Yeah, here's what it was. But we might be stretching the bounds of the term by calling that a record. It was a scrap together, best as I could, series of tracks from different sessions and different stages of incompletion recorded across the country. There are 2 Noah Shane tracks on that record. I did 2 tape recordings with Noah Shane in 2007 or 8, and it was Steve Ferroni on drums, I believe, Paul Hill on bass. Sort of that dream team that I've been working with that whole time, and so is Constantina and Ale, which is the Louisiana. It's got a broken cage. It's got a broken Louisiana French chorus. Laissez les bon temps rouler avec moi toujours aller. It don't matter avec moi aller. Anyways, those 2 Noah Shane tracks, and then I finished that record with one of the guys from the Outkast Stankonia scene, a producer named John Q. Kegler and Monica Ewing, an Atlanta personality. Monica's a full-blooded Cherokee woman who is a prominent fixture in the law community down there.
That is a eclectic blend of producers and.
It was magic. Yeah, it was magic. We got by. I'm tickled. I'll say this. I knew that we were. I mean, I think that Bad News Travels Fast record is comparatively sounds more like a Beck record than any kind of Americana record that I can think of right now. I mean, it's got drum loops on it.
Yeah.
It was finished with a hip hop producer in Atlanta. You know, there are 2 Noah Shane tracks. Those are pretty heavy sessions. Those 2 tracks. I mean, I still love the way those 2 tracks sound. There's a creative nature that we did with John Q. Kegler. Like, we stacked vocals R&B style.
Yeah.
So it's very Atlanta sounding in that regard.
Is it still recording? Yeah, it's still recording. Sorry, I thought it dropped out.
Cool. No, all good. So it's very Atlanta sounding in that regard to me. And then I like I said, I had been out in California, so I was totally I had become aware of the California country sound.
How is the LA scene? And how long were you out there for?
I was out there 05, 06, 07, 08. I was out there 4 years.
4 years.
I loved it. I fell head over heels in love with Southern California, man, and Los Angeles.
Yeah,
absolutely. The experience that I had out there was very bohemian.
Yeah.
And very cultural, and you know, my experience out there read like what I've read. You know, it's not too far off of what I've read from Christopherson and all the Laurel Canyon guys.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, when I was hanging out in Los Angeles, I was getting tattooed in a basement garage joint below Jonathan Rice's place. You know Jonathan Rice?
No,
probably.
I don't.
Fabulous guitar player and singer songwriter artist out of L.A. Plays with Elvis Costello and a number of other people.
Wow. Okay.
But I was getting tattooed at Shamrock Social Club.
Yeah.
And I was playing Silver Lake Lounge and Spaceland and the Grand Old Echo, and writing songs with Mike Stinson, and playing with Xander Sloss, the bass player from Circle Jerks, and Martijn Lenoble, bass player from Porno for Pyros. And I had a wonderful LA experience. And then sneaking over and hanging out with Steve Ferrone and Dean DeLeo and Robert DeLeo from Stone Temple Pilots, and recording songs with those guys.
Wow.
And then I was doing some tech work. I got to do some tech work for Mike Knob and Mike Campbell and the Dirty Knobs, and open for those guys. And it was a wonderful experience out there.
That's awesome. Do you get back out there, like when you did this release run? Went back out to LA and all that.
Yeah, I go back out there to do that stuff. I get out there as often as I can. I also recorded the Sea of Lights record. I recorded out there at Noah Shane's downtown LA studio.
Oh, okay.
Recorded in 2015, came out. Recorded December 2015, came out 2016.
Yeah, I've only been to like North California. I haven't been to LA yet. But it's such a different landscape and scene musically than anything over here. It was a whole new experience for me for sure. I haven't really gotten down to South California, where a lot more of the country scene is.
Sure. I guess like you're saying, the NorCal scene is a little bit more folky.
It is, indie folky.
Yeah,
kinda.
Which I dig. I dig that stuff. I like the songwriter sounds. I love indigenous songwriter sounds. Like I feel like there's definitely a Georgia songwriter sound.
Right. Totally.
And I think that there's definitely the Rolling Hills of Tennessee songwriter sound.
Yeah, Kentucky.
Yeah, Kentucky.
Louisiana.
There's definitely a Kentucky sound. There's definitely a Louisiana sound. And I think there's definitely a Southern California country crossroads of a sound also. And I think there's definitely a NorCal folk sound.
Yeah.
And I love and appreciate and admire and respect each of those things.
Yeah, and it comes across in like a lot of your songwriting, because you kind of blend a lot of those things.
Thank you.
The horns on your new album Dude,
Thanks.
this sounds so great too.
Thanks,
like
man.
you were mentioning, it's just funny because you're kind of like laying out this roadmap of where you've been, and you're mentioning you kind of were into the funk and the blues type stuff. And I feel like there's a little bit of that like kind of tight rhythm in the new record, but there's also there's like the country, and I feel like a little Appalachia kind of thing, and all sorts. It's like this culmination of different. So just you saying all these places you've been, it makes sense.
Thanks, man. Yeah. No, thank you. Yeah, and I do. I'm not from Louisiana, but like I said,
Yeah.
I have this tie to Louisiana via the women and this clan of Southern Belles that are the women on my mom's side of the family, and so I've spent a bunch of time down there, and it means the world to me, and it's had buku influence on me. I think and the Appalachian stuff, the pentatonic stuff, like no doubt, that stuff comes out of me.
Yeah.
It's at my very core for sure. And then along the way, I discovered and became enamored with the Southern California Laurel Canyon and the Tom Petty the great American blanket of a songwriter sound that, like you said, comprises a number of these different indigenous sounds.
Right.
The LA pop thing it's a thing, man.
Yeah.
And I love that music. And then the North Florida, South Georgia thing, 100% identifiable. And yeah, I absolutely think it is all American. I mean, I'll say this: I was reading something about American literature the other day, and the other one of the parties in this interview or conversation said, well, Southern literature defines American literature, and I pridefully took note of that. Like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, it's all even up in the north, they're still trying to mimic some of the Southern culture.
Don't get me wrong. There are indigenous northern creations for certain. And I love that part. I love New England. I'm glad the damn Kansas City Chiefs took it. I mean, I'm glad about that. I mean, Lions. What is that team? Kansas City. What's their mascot?
It's the Chiefs. Yeah.
It's Chiefs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pro football. I can't tell anymore. But yeah, I'm an underdog. I can't not bet on the underdog.
Yeah. You weren't for the 49ers, California?
Of course.
Yeah.
But they've been a great team for a long time. Damn, Chiefs hadn't won a game in 50 years. I was like,
people have been asking me who I was going for in the Super Bowl. I just kept saying the Saints.
Hell yeah. That's who dat. Yeah.
Yeah. Who dat?
That's so good. That's great, Will.
But yeah, it was a good game. That was literally last night. Yeah, so we did mention New England a little bit. Have you been up there much? And
a little bit. I've lucked out and spent some time in New York City. Yeah. And Manhattan, and since I was a kid too. And so that place is another one. So I've got a tie and a connection to that city, and I've spent some time there, and it means a lot to me.
Yeah, but you when you came to Nashville in I guess 2009? 12. Okay, 12.
Now I started coming to Nashville though when I was out in Los Angeles, like the second or third year I was out there. Second year I was out there. I got a gig working the Magic Fashion Show for a buddy who had the license on the Fender clothing line, and at the end of the week in Vegas, working this fashion show, I was playing music out on the floor of the fashion show 8 hours a day. At the end of that week, I went to the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino, cashed in my paycheck. It was a good paycheck, biggest paycheck I had in a minute at the time. And I got a comp card, and I started playing cards. Anyways, I like 20 hours later, I end up at craps table, and I get on a roll, and I hit craps table for $14,000. unknowingly standing next to two Nashville music publishers, and we became fast friends because we all won a bunch of money, and they ended up, and then they're Texas music, Nashville music publishers via Texas.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm still friends with those guys today, but they started bringing me shortly thereafter in like 2007. They not a month after Vegas, they sent me plane tickets. Said, "Man, you got to come right in Nashville," and so I've been coming to Nashville a few times a year for a week at a time or so since 2007.
What finally drew you here?
I moved to Nashville in 2012 with a girl from Georgia so she could join the roller derby team.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you've been here, almost 8 years now. Yeah. What is the difference, do you think, between the like LA songwriter scene and the Nashville songwriter scene? I've had people from LA on the show, and I've had people from here, in different parts, but I've never had people that have been to two big.
Sure. Well, so what do I think the differences of those things are?
Yeah,
sure.
I'm just interested to know. Because I only know the Nashville.
It's a great question. Yeah. It's a great question. So there is a very high level of the craft that exists in Los Angeles. That LA pop songwriter, and then if you go, if you get into some of the folk scene out there too, there's also a high level folk songwriter scene in California too. Kind of that grassroots Ben Harper, Gillian Welsh kind of scene. A high level astute kind of songwriter scene, and then that pop thing too.
Yeah.
So there's a high level of the craft that exists out there, and then in Nashville, so in LA, the real medium of exchange, though, the real medium of exchange in that town is a movie script or a show treatment or a treatment. Yeah. That's what's getting hustled out there. That's what exists, I guess, above the songwriter.
So even if you're a songwriter, you're probably trying to get in a film.
Somehow, you're not even a degree of separation away from it,
Yeah.
And in Nashville, the undisputed medium of exchange is a song.
Yeah.
So I think there's pros and cons. In Nashville, with Nashville being songwriter central of the planet, and guitar town of the planet. I mean, this is guitar central of the whole planet.
Yeah.
There are pros and cons. I think you get the highest of the high level stuff, and I think you also get the lowest common denominator of a large pool of people shooting at this lowest common denominator of trite, dumbed down commercialism, if you will.
Yeah.
And so you get both of those things existing simultaneously. I was talking with Guthrie Trapp a few months ago, and we were talking, and I think it was him that proposed the idea that Nashville might be, at this point in time, the greatest convergence of musical talent the world has ever seen.
Yeah.
Including like Venice in the late 1700s, like including that, which was we call the classical. I mean, just think of what's going on in Nashville, right. and they're true. There is a massive quantity.
Totally. Yeah.
But I think there is also an undeniable level and overwhelming quantity of high level talent in this town.
Yeah.
It's just amazing.
Yeah. I kind of equate the East Nashville scene to like the Greenwich Village in the 60s kind of thing, like so many people are coming here, and a lot of it, in my humble opinion, is like all the top people from these different places are coming here, and then they're getting sharpened.
Sure.
Because you have to, friendly competition, but you have to be good to keep up with the Jones.
Sure.
Cream rises to the top. So I feel like there's definitely there's, like you said, there's the pop country kind of commercial thing where there's a lot of people who aren't very talented, but they're trying to go for that like commercial thing. And there's people that are talented in that as well, but then there's people that are just like not worried about commercialism and are just writing kick-ass songs.
Sure.
Yeah,
and that's interesting. Good point. And within that realm of songwriters, I think one thing that I'm discovering, especially nowadays, since recording sessions aren't necessarily contracted like they used to be contracted. I mean, you used to have high-level arrangers who came in after the composer and did a whole full workup of the whole treatment of every song, and just tricked out the arrangements.
Really?
Oh yeah, like all the damn everything recorded in at Capital A in L.A. from I don't know what the when that studio originated, but all the what's his name? Frank Sinatra stuff, Judy Garland, all the way up through the Beach Boys. Like all those bodies of work were like composed and then further tricked out by an arranger. So if we put it in terms of a stock car racing team, that's like, one guy builds the car and another guy puts it on performance and squeezes another fucking 25, 50, 75, 150 horsepower out of it.
Yeah.
So here's what I'm saying. In Nashville, I definitely think that there's guys, songwriters who have maybe their values more like an arranger.
Yeah.
And I work with people. I definitely go seek some of those guys out because I like their particular bag of skills.
Yeah. Yeah. There's all sorts of I've met some people who can't sing to save their life, but can write a damn good song.
Sure.
There's all sorts of people in this town for sure, but there's so much talent, and I don't really know the LA scene, and I definitely need to know it more. Jason Hawk Harris was on the podcast. And
he's cool. I dig him. Yeah,
he was in that. He's in that scene, and then
he's a good one. He sounds good.
Sam Outlaw, I know he's out there, right?
I don't know him.
No.
I'll tell you who's worth talking about. You talking about these different songwriter scenes and talking about different styles of the talent of how whatever this is to be to have the talent of being a songwriter, to have the skill or whatever you want to call it, the compulsion. There are some guys that can't hardly play guitar and can't hardly sing, can write their ass off.
Yeah.
And that takes form in some eclectic, interesting ways. Like Vic Chestnut's worth mentioning. Do you know about Vic Chestnut from Athens, Georgia?
I know the name. I couldn't tell you any work.
He's interesting. It's sort of almost like in terms of songwriting, it's got this indigenous vernacular, like a folk artist.
Yeah.
Anyways, I definitely respect and admire and acknowledge many different forms of the moniker, talent, skill, calling of songwriter. Jeremy Ivy, I don't know if you're familiar with him,
but he is like such a meaty songwriter. Like I've been listening. I never was crazy about his voice, but I went to a show at Exit In and saw him, and his lyricism is just so good and so deep. And he's like one of those guys that doesn't care if it's like really commercial. He's just gonna like write the lyric to make it good.
Sure.
And I really appreciate that so much, because there's, here, and I imagine even more so in LA, there's so much commercialism of like, get to the chorus by the 45-second mark, and make sure that it's real hooky and all that stuff. And so it's good to have someone that literally does like 6 verses, with like nothing catchy in it at all.
Sure. No, I get you, and I think like to counter that, I think basically, that petty stuff still falls under that.
Yes.
And so does Guided by Voices.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know Guided by Voices as a whole. If you've ever seen them live, it's a whole night long of 2 minute 50-second songs.
Yeah.
Like all night long. So he might play 70 songs in a damn show, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, it's not for everybody. I kind of like that.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I like extended musical interlude also.
Right.
I like a hybrid of the worlds, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you write, are you like a daily writer? I know you said you got a lot of stuff.
Sure. I think I'm definitely always hunting. You know, when I read.
Yeah. Are you
like,
disciplined about it, like daily?
I would discipline.
Yeah.
Discipline and me are not necessarily kindred spirits.
Yeah, I understand that.
I'm more like I do constantly do it, but it's not necessarily out of discipline. It's just out of doing it. Like once I wake, I'm in that mode. If I'm sending emails and doing that kind of work, then you know I'm still running across little phrases and little melodies, and I put on records to listen to, and white noise and crime dramas, and you know, like, so it's all songwriting in that way.
Oh no, totally. I think that once you've lost one too many lines, you know, where you forget to write it down, you just start writing everything down, whether it's trash or not, trying to follow that muse.
Sure, for sure.
Yeah. What else is coming up for you? You released this new record that was back in last summer?
Yeah. We released that record last spring, I guess, and the Tennessee Alabama Fireworks album. And I've not long after that, we recorded a Live to Lathe record with Pete Lyman and Reed Shippen, and so that is in the can, and that's coming out here in the first part of this year.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you. We recorded 2 sides, 20 minutes per side, live to lathe. You know, so you count the first tune off, and then you're live from then on for 20 minutes.
That's such a great idea. You had the full band for that one?
I took in a jug band, basically. They needed us to do an acoustic-based recording.
Okay. And,
you know, I'm pretty electric for the most part.
Yeah.
And so I took a jug band in. I did have Jonathan Cullifer on steel, electric pedal steel, but everything else was acoustic. My buddy Mike Miz on banjo, Nick Champeau on guitar, Matt Menifee on a mandolin, and I was on flat top and resonator, and had great upright bass player.
That'll be so good.
Yeah. It was fun.
The first time I saw you, you were on Finally Fridays on WMOT, and you were doing an acoustic thing.
Oh, cool.
And you were like, "This isn't my normal thing. I'm like electric."
Right.
But it sounded awesome.
Thanks.
I think it was just mandolin, you, and maybe banjo or something.
Sure. Yeah. No, I love acoustic music. The reason, I have a reason why I don't perform it often live, and it's because it's difficult to interface with sound men when you travel from club to club with acoustic guitars and mandolins and fiddles and banjos and stuff like that. Those instruments are a little bit harder and more finicky to set up the sound and get a consistent good quality sound. So I literally just kind of quit playing acoustic guitars myself in 2010. I basically, that was the last year that I played acoustic guitars, was 2010. So 2011 forward, I've been pretty much electric guitar only for live performance, for just the logistic of controlling and trying to deliver a consistent most high quality sound I could come up with. You know?
Yeah. Are you a gear guy?
Am I a gear guy? Kind of. I don't spend a ton of time on it now. I kind of got a rig that I run with.
Yeah.
I got a handmade 20-watt sort of an early Fender circuit rig. It's kind of like an early Princeton or Fender Reverb type of circuit. So I got that amp. I run through a 112. I got a pedal board with some Greer amps stuff and a little slapback delay and a roto vibe on it.
No wah pedal anymore?
No wah. I ditched my wah pedals. But so and then I use a Telefunken M80 microphone. And we're kind of three vocals across the front of the stage. Me, guitar player, and a bass player singing all the choruses together, Tom Petty style. You know?
That's awesome. Yeah.
WWTP, TPD. What would Tom Petty do?
What would Tom Petty do? Man, that was one of the. I saw Tom Petty once before he died, and that was probably one of the best shows I've ever seen.
Yeah,
it's good stuff. And I did want to touch on this because I know this is something else you do. You work with leather a lot too.
Sure.
Yeah, you do like belts and
I do belts and guitar straps. Yeah, mainly. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. It's a great way to listen to music. And if I'm not playing shows full time, I do have a little bit of time on my hands, and my hands can withstand. If I try to do too much leather work and play too much guitar, it overworks my hands. But yeah,
beautiful work. Though.
Thanks, man. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming out. We do you? I have a guitar. Would you want to play a song if we?
Oh man, yeah, sure. I'll play a song. Good to go. Hang out left on White Creek Ridge and stay on 33. There's a sharecropper shack by the railroad tracks and a big old sycamore tree. A big old sycamore tree. Scars on the limb where the rope had been and an old tire used to swing. In that shade I had my first taste of love at 17. Lord, I was just a 17. In another life with a Boy Scout knife, I made a pledge there in the bark, a lasting monument to you and me. We both swore forever as I carved 4 letters in a heart, 4 letters in a heart, 4 letters in a heart, 4 letters in a heart. I come back every now and then to pay a visit to my past. My fingers trace the marks I made for love. It did not last. Young love, it did not last. It's easy for a young man to promise love when it don't know what it cost. He's yet to face the cold hard day. He gonna learn about loss. And Lord, I learned about loss. In another life with a Boy Scout knife, I made a pledge there in the bark, a lasting monument to you and me. We both swore forever as I carved 4 letters in a heart, 4 letters in a heart, 4 letters in a heart, 4 letters in a heart.
That's it for this episode of the Americana Station podcast. Make sure if you're in town on March 19th, that's Thursday, March 19th, come by the Sutler. Say hi to me. Say hi to Bure. He's going to play a set along with Sissy Dinkle and the Pickin' and Percolatin' podcast, sponsored by String Joy. We're going to have Nathan Evans Fox on the next episode of the podcast. He's got a new record out called Kindness. It took 2 times for me to be able to record this podcast, but he was so gracious and came back, and we tracked it. So it'll be out in a few weeks. Listen to his new album. It's really phenomenal. It's really good, and he's a great guy. I got to see his album release show at Bowery Vault, and it was incredible. Please go rate and review us. It really helps get us up further in the line and have more eyes on us. So if you could just take the time to just put a little review, if you're on Apple Podcasts or Stitcher, whichever platform you're using, just give us a nice review, and that would really help out a lot. And you can follow me, your host, Will Payne Harrison, on social media. I'm at Will Payne Harrison on Instagram, at Will P. Harrison on Twitter, and my Facebook, which is now back up, is /the Will Payne Harrison. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time in a couple of weeks with Nathan Evans Fox.